There are two builds in the game that I've absolutely fallen in love with for their overall versatility, ad clear, damage, and playstyles. I'm talking specifically about the Starfire Protocol Solar Warlock and the Gerfalcon's Halberd Void Hunter, both of which I have already made videos about on my channel. The reason for today's installment to revisit them, however, is because these two builds just got so much better. And don't worry, Titan players, I've got something for you too. But before we go over the new setups, more than 2/3 of you are not subscribed. If you enjoyed today's video and want to see more build guides from me in Lightfall, especially when it comes to Strand, I'd highly recommend making the switch if you feel so inclined. As far as today's builds go, let's start with the Gerfalcon's Halberd Hunter, for which I recommended Stylish Executioner and Trapper's Ambush for aspects and Echoes of Persistence, Obscurity, and Undermining for fragments. The idea with this build is that you would go invisible with a Trapper's Ambush smoke grenade or Echo of Obscurity finisher and obtain volatile rounds from Gerfalcon's Halberd on invisibility exit. You would then kill enemies with your volatile rounds, which would proc Stylish Executioner, reactivating invisibility on void debuffed enemy kills, thus resetting the loop. Where this build gets much better, however, begins with some of the system changes coming in Lightfall. Previously, I recommended an Elemental Well-based mod setup with this build, but those are going away when the new expansion hits. Taking their place are a new pickup object called Void Breaches, which can be generated from some new fragments coming to the game and picked up for class ability energy refund. As a result, you'll have your class ability up much more often, making Vanishing Step a lot easier to make work with this build than before. And the reason that's important is because the Vanishing Step aspect grants 2 fragment slots versus the 1 granted by Trapper's Ambush. And this additional fragment slot opening is super important because the new void fragments coming in Lightfall are what is going to take this build to the next level. The new build is all going to start with the new fragment Echo of Cessation, which will create a void burst that makes surrounding enemies volatile on enemy finishers and create void breaches when defeating volatile targets. And that's presumably all volatile targets, including ones that will be dying from our Gerfalcon's Halberd volatile rounds. You'll then want to slot Echo of Starvation, which currently grants the Devour buff on Orb of Power pickup, but will also grant Devour on Void Breach pickup in Lightfall. This means that because you are killing every single enemy with volatile rounds, you are not only going invisible, but also generating a Void Breach on every single kill to refresh your Devour buff, effectively giving you not only infinite invisibility, but also infinite Devour. This opens the door for basically any void weapon to work beautifully with this build, as although previously Repulsor Brace was the only way to consistently regenerate health and shields, you now have a full HP refresh on every single kill regardless of weapon perk selection. These 2 buffs can further be made better by maintaining Echo of Persistence, which increases the duration of all void buffs, most notably in this build, Invisibility and Devour. And because we will be acquiring bonus class ability from Scavenged Void Breaches on every volatile kill, aka every kill, we can also run Vanishing Step instead of Trapper's Ambush, not only for the extra fragment slot, but also to restore the energy of other abilities such as our grenade with mods that have been confirmed to be sticking around in Lightfall. Looking first at that final fragment slot, however, you have a lot of choices. You could stick with Echo of Obscurity for invisibility on enemy finishers, although that seems a bit overkill in any non-Grandmaster Nightfall activity since your Echo of Cessation will make surrounding enemies volatile on finisher final blows, which you can then kill to go invisible via Stylish Executioner. Echo of Harvest could be a good option if you have solid aim to generate an Orb of Power and a Void Breach from precision final blows on weakened targets, which can be achieved through your Smoke Bomb, but my personal favorite is going to be sticking with Echo of Undermining, which causes grenades to weaken enemies. A big reason I love this fragment with this build is because with our dodge being used much more frequently, frequently thanks to all of the energy from Void Breaches, running the Bomber mod on our class item for grenade energy refund on class ability usage means that we will be having our grenade up constantly with this build. Currently, you can run either 1 copy of Bomber for a 14% grenade refund on dodge, or 2 copies for an 18% refund, but with Lightfall, we will be able to more freely socket multiple copies of each, meaning there could be a possibility for us to run even more copies of Bomber at the same time for an even higher refund percentage. So with infinite invisibility, devour, dodges, and weakening grenades, this build is looking like it's going to be the top choice for Hunter players, especially for the Day 1 Legendary campaign and the Day 1 raid. And if you want to see a full guide on this build with a full brand new mod setup after Lightfall releases, then I'd recommend subscribing to my channel so the video pops up on your recommended page right when I release it. If you're a Warlock player though, then your eyes are going to want to be on the already super strong Starfire Protocol build, which is also about to get way better in Lightfall. Previously for this build, I recommended Touch of Flame and either Icarus Dash or Heat Rises for aspects, and something along the lines of Ember of Char, Ashes, Benevolence, and Torches for fragments. The number one weakness of this build is that it can feel like a bit of a glass cannon. Other than your super ability, which isn't going to be readily available all the time, you don't have any healing options with both your grenade and rift opting into their offensive configurations. But with Lightfall, that is all going to change. Similar to how Void is getting breaches for class ability refund, Solar is getting fire sprites, which refund grenade energy. But that's not all they can do once we incorporate some of the new fragments into the mix. Previously, the only way to consistently heal yourself with this build was by rocking mods like Elemental Ordnance to create elemental wells on grenade kills, Elemental Charge to become charged with light for picking up those wells, and Heal Thyself for a 25 HP heal on grenade final blows at the cost of 1 stack of charged with light. But with the new solar fragments arriving in Lightfall, that whole process can be simplified with something like Ember of Resolve, which will grant you Cure, a 60 HP heal on grenade final blows, aka a better Heal Thyself with absolutely no setup required. But the crazy thing is that that isn't even the best fragment option for Solar Warlocks in Lightfall. For that, we need to look at Ember of Searing, which in addition to its existing functionality of granting melee energy, will also grant a fire sprite when defeating scorched targets. You can get healing with these generated fire sprites with Ember of Mercy, which in addition to granting restoration when reviving an ally, also grants restoration when picking up a fire sprite. Since your grenades and melee ability both scorch enemies, you'll be creating a fire sprite on every single kill, which means you'll also be refreshing your restoration buff and refunding grenade energy on every single kill. So ultimately, which fragments should you run with this Warlock build in Lightfall? Well, Searing and Mercy seem like obvious picks for the 100% restoration uptime, but that doesn't necessarily render Resolve useless. The one issue with Searing and Mercy with this Starfire build is that they require you to leave your rift to go and collect the fire sprite for restoration. In a situation where you don't want to worry about having to leave your rift to get the fire sprite, Resolve can actually make a lot of sense as a complementary healing option in circumstances where you want to focus exclusively on tossing grenades. For your final slot, you can throw on Torches for radiant unpowered melee hits, and if you don't find yourself needing Resolve, you can swap that out for Benevolence for increased ability regen when granting solar buffs to allies, which synergizes incredibly well with Torches. And just like I'll do for the Hunter build, when Lightfall drops, I'll make another video outlining what I consider to be the best setup for this build with a new Lightfall-based mod loadout included. So subscribe if you want to see that. As for Titans, I don't have anything new for you today, but I reckon my Heart of Inmost Light Void build will work wonders for you for the Day 1 Lightfall campaign. And you're first on my list when it comes to finding something super strong on Lightfall release. If you have some ideas on what is going to be next level based on all of the information we currently have, throw me some suggestions down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.